Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Plymouth United Church. Those of you who are online, thanks for joining us. Those of you in the building here, thanks for joining us here. It's good to have you with us. Couple of announcements. First, we want to send our prayers and our condolences to Linda White and her family on the passing of her son, Steve. Sending prayers her way and their way for the whole family. We're going to have his celebration of life here Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Everybody is welcome to come and support the family and celebrate Steve's life. And if you'd like to help with fellowship at all, let me know. We'd like to put on a spread for them. The other thing, speaking of fellowship is resumed. So if you'd like to get on that bandwagon, let me know that too. We've got a fellowship team, and please stay after church, get to know each other, and eat lots of food. Let's see, what else? Today is an important day. Every day is an important day, right? But today is Mental Health Sunday. So this whole month, we're celebrating mental health awareness, but this is the Mental Health Sunday day. So that's pretty cool. We've got I think, really important service lined up for everyone today. But one thing that I did want to make note of, in October we celebrate, honor what they call Mental Illness Sunday. And this honoring here for mental health has to do with a broader scope of our mental and emotional landscape, our health and wellness, our well-being. So we're talking about a broad scope of how we live and move and why that's important to God, why that's important as a community, why that's important to each other. So I'm grateful that we get this as a whole month to talk about the ways that we get to be this created being that we are, and how to best take care of ourselves. So with all of that, we have brought ourselves to this time and this space together intentionally to be together for a reason. Let's begin that with a great intention of centering. For this month, the table that is set before you has on it the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. The water being represented by the blue cloth, air represented by the bird, and earth, the rocks, fire, the candles. And on our centering slideshow, we have the 4 elements represented as well. And these connect loosely, or maybe substantially, both, to our bodies, to our minds, to our emotions, and to our spirit. One doesn't have to represent, it's not a one-on-one, concrete relationship. So where in your body today do you have a sense of any of these elements? And can you breathe into that aspect of the element into your body to help bring yourself awareness, wholeness, to inspire you, to help you to realize where you're maybe unwell in your body and to give yourself love? And to realize where you are very well in your body and to allow that movement to spread. The same is true of our intellect, our mind, our thinking. What element today do you closely associate with your thinking? And how can it weave into the aspect of your thoughts that you feel like are maybe just a little bit broken, that they're not working for you. To feed it, to energize yourself, to give yourself a stable foundation, a healing flow. And how in your thinking that is bright and vibrant, vigorous, does this element work to help spread that vigor to the rest of your thinking? Breathe into your thoughts as we move to our emotions. How is your emotional landscape? What element are you connecting this morning with that emotional landscape, with your feelings, with your responses, your reactions? Where emotionally do you feel depleted or uncertain? How can that element help to give you the nutrients you need to sustain your emotional self? Where are you vigorous emotionally? Where do you know that it's working? And how can that element help to spread that health and well-being emotionally into the aspects of yourself that could really need that strengthening? What element do you associate right now with your spirit? Today, where is that connection for you? How is it supporting your spiritual self, your connection with the divine, and your connection with each other? In what way are you finding yourself spiritually lacking? And in what way are you finding yourself spiritually on fire? Spiritually drenched with hope, spiritually grounded, spiritually floating free. And allow that strength to spread to the part of you spiritually that's really kind of limp, hanging loose, not quite supported. Breathe into that. And allow all those elements to flow within you, helping you to be present, helping you to intentionally participate in this service, in this created moment that we're sharing together as we bring ourselves fully to this time, into this place.
Please join me in the call to worship. Whoever you are, you are welcome here. Gathering spirit to spirit, come, let us be open to all that is sacred and beautiful. Please join us as we sing Come My People from the Sing Book number 12. You can find it under the seat if you would like to.
Our biblical witness this morning is from Psalm 23, an interpretation by Brian Fowler. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. God lets me rest in green meadows and leads me beside peaceful streams. God renews my strength, guiding me along right paths, bringing honor to God's name. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid. For you, O God, are close beside me.
The contemporary witness this morning is the poem Footprints in the Sand. One night, I had a dream. I dreamed I was walking along the beach with God, and across the sky flashed scenes from my life. For each scene, I noticed two sets of footprints in the sand. One belonged to me, and the other to God. When the last scene of my life flashed before us, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that many times along the path of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times in my life. This really bothered me, and I questioned God about it. God, you said that once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. But I have noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there is only one set of footprints. I don't understand why in times when I needed you the most, you should leave me. The Lord replied, my precious, precious child, I love you, and I would never, never leave you during your times of trial and suffering. When you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you.
Our reflection today is a dialogical with our friend Amy Friday.
And Shelby Mack.
And our friend Shelby Mack, who may speak up. We don't know. So on this Mental Health Sunday, Amy's been a member here for a couple years now. A lot of years. 13 years. And is a member of the mental health team. And so we're, involving as many people from the mental health team as possible to participate. And they wanted to talk about their journey here and their journey in general. So tell us a little bit about your background so that we can, because a lot of people know you to some degree. Some people, this might be the first time they're meeting you.
Okay. First, I want to say I'm not a mental health professional, but I personally have had a lot of experiences with mental health. I grew up in a very dysfunctional and traumatic childhood. At about the age of 12 or 13, I knew I needed therapy, but I continuously was denied that opportunity, even when authorities were contacted. So at the age of 17, while everybody else was going to prom, I was filling out paperwork to become legally emancipated from my family. From there, after that happened, I started therapy right away, and my first therapist was wonderful, and she knew there was a complicated situation going on there. But I went off to college. And my freshman year, I ended up having to go into a psychiatric hospital multiple times. But it was at that hospital I was diagnosed with several things, but the major diagnosis was dissociative identity disorder, which at that time was being, it's the same as multiple personality disorder. It's just a better name for it, a better description for it. And when they diagnosed me with that, I was like, it's like a huge bright light was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I know what's going on. I know what's happening. Now, how do I learn to deal with it? So I ended up leaving college and came back to the Houston area and just started looking for therapists. And psychiatrist who understood me. Unfortunately, I spent many years going in and out of psychiatric hospitals, but as much as I disliked all that, I got better. It took me from my early 20s to almost my late 30s to finally find a therapist who could help me, who could treat me, who understood how to deal with this and how to work with it. And I also found a great psychiatrist as well, because everybody I was going to before was like, oh, you're schizophrenic. No, you're bipolar. No, you're paranoid. You know, just misdiagnosed time after time after time. And right before I got to my new psychiatrist, I kept saying to every psychiatrist I went to, I am not schizophrenic. And most of them just didn't believe me. So, but I have been with my current care team for about the same amount, 13 years. So I'm very thankful I found them. Okay, is that it?
And I just kind of want to put a plug in here. Not that there's anything wrong with being schizophrenic, so to speak.
No.
You know, it's just when you're diagnosed with a certain kind of mental health challenge or condition, you want to be treated for the thing you actually have. And so often, I know I'm going off script a little bit,
okay.
But I know that when you've been inpatient, a lot of times you get stuck with, in group therapy, when you go inpatient, you have these group therapy times, right? And you end up in a group that's mostly for people who have addictions. And you don't have addictions.
No.
And so those groups are super important, absolutely vital, and wrong for you to be in the middle of, because they don't help you get the support that you need in the middle of that. So this misdiagnosis thing sets you back quite a ways.
Very much.
Yeah. So would you like to share with us how you understand the differences between mental illness, what we call mental illness, what we call mental health challenges, and just general mental health and wellness? Kind of what I started talking about, but from your perspective and your experience.
Okay, I'm going to start with mental health wellness. So every day we get up and we bathe, we brush our teeth, we wash our face, we eat breakfast. Those things we do to keep ourselves physically well. But if you're not mentally well, you're not going to have the physically well. So mental health, wellness to me, is doing little things that bring you comfort. Writing in a journal, drawing pictures, petting your dog, going for a walk, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Being in the bathtub without your kid knocking on the door. You know, just those little things. They don't take very long to do. They can, be as little as, 2 minutes, or as long as, you want to. But if you don't take care of your mental wellness, just like if you don't take care of your physical body, they're going to collide and make things more complicated.
And you have a lot of experience with that, of taking care every day, saying, I am choosing to be well today in this way, taking care of myself and loving myself.
Correct. I wasn't that way at first, but I'm that way now.
Yeah.
So yes, even when I wake up, I say, okay, what do I need to do first to prepare myself for the day? And it's always a mental health task. I'm not really into meditation, but I do little things like, if you don't know, I'm a huge Winnie the Pooh collector. And just looking at my bedroom wall where I had my different pictures and hangings of Winnie the Pooh and sailboats and all that stuff, that to me is life-giving. I don't know how else to explain it. Okay. Mental health challenges. Everybody has mental health challenges. But the important thing, I believe, is not to dismiss them, not to deny them, but to face them. Because if you don't, they do turn into a mental illness. But I don't like the word illness, so I use the word mental condition. Mental illness has a huge stigma attached to it. It's getting better, and COVID has brought that to the forefront, but it still holds a huge stigma. But mental conditions really do interrupt your life. As Matt said before, being misdiagnosed for so long really made things harder for me to heal. It took longer, obviously, but I didn't trust myself as much. I had to learn to do all that all over again. But everybody has bad days, bumpy roads, and difficult with acceptance. But with mental challenges, talk, write, draw. You don't have to go to a therapist. I mean, if you want to, that's great. I mean, now it's easier now. They've got online therapists, so you don't even have to leave your bed now to talk to a therapist. So if you're having one of those days, it's like, I can't get out of bed. You can find someone there. And you don't have to commit your life to therapy. You can have a therapist that you check in with every couple of weeks or a couple of months and just get a checkup. Those things are very, very, very important. One last thing on this question. Every 12 minutes, somebody dies from suicide. Think of your family. Family of 4 can be gone in less than an hour. 1 in 5 people who have suicidal ideations gets treatment. So think about that. It's very, very important, especially with children. If children don't get the right tools or the right information or the comfort, it follows them the rest of their lives. And they miss out on a lot of things.
One of the things that you mentioned was how mental health situation, a circumstantial issue, if you ignore it, can lead to a mental health condition. Because it can kind of, the image I get is that it sets a groove, a pattern in your life that becomes a rut, that then it's hard to get out of, and then that becomes a condition rather than a situation, rather than a little pothole. Right. It becomes this groove in this rut. And anything can make that happen. And to attend to it in the moment is the best thing to do. And the stigma, one of the things we talk about a lot in the mental health team is how do we destigmatize going to a therapist, talking about our challenges, talking about being sad or depressed, talking about being scratched or broken emotionally or mentally. How do we destigmatize that so that it becomes normative and we can support each other and we can share resources with each other? To shift that percentage of 1 in 5 getting help to 5 in 5 getting help. And right now, every year, I think that has ever existed, we can say now is a really hard time to be alive. There's always some kind of challenge. It's the way that it's a hard time to be alive. So, for instance, There was I don't know the specifics. I didn't see the specifics on the news of the person who was black while grocery shopping and was murdered. That event in and of itself is absolutely terrible. The violence is absolutely terrible. The fallout from a situation like that can cause a mental health situation that you might say, now's the time I need to check in with my therapist. Or now's the time I need to find someone to talk to about this so that I don't create a groove in my life. I just have a pothole that I can try to manage. The same is true of some of the policies and legislations regarding trans folk, LGBTQ folk, abortion. All of these things can create ruts in a person's life that end up in a mental health condition rather than a mental health moment or a safety moment intellectually and emotionally. So having these resources that we share, destigmatizing them so that we can say, I am more upset than I thought I was going to be, and I'm not sure I can manage. I don't know how to manage getting over this, whatever this is. So one of the things we want to encourage is speaking up, speaking out, sharing, and listening when someone is sharing with you. Did you have something to add to that?
I did. For those of you, I have a medical background, and so I tend to think, and everybody's familiar with medical conditions. So let's think of mental health this way. You cut your hand. You think it's just a benign cut, it'll be fine. You figured, I'm not going to wash it now, I'll do it later, whatever. Well, then that cut gets infected. You have to go to the doctor, it gives you some antibiotics, but that doesn't work. And your hand swells up. And you get more treatment. That doesn't work. And eventually you develop a condition called sepsis, when your entire blood system has an infection in it. It's a very deadly condition. But see, all of that could have been prevented if you had just washed your hand.
And we're not saying that all mental health conditions can be prevented.
Oh, no.
But that there are some ways that we can take care of ourselves in the moment to mitigate bigger issues. I had a therapist one time who said, what I think you're doing is your oil light in your car's gone on and you went in the house, put a Band-Aid over the light. You need to deal with the oil in your car, my friend. Okay. All right. I understand that increasing confidence in yourself and in your tools has helped you to make more positive changes in your life in general and in your healing. Can you share with us the ways that is true for you?
Okay, so obviously for the first 20 years of my life, I was exposed to lots of negativity. And that's all I knew. That's all I believed. That's all that was in my life. And when I started seeking treatment, I would be told, just hang in there. What other positive things?
You can do it.
Right.
It wasn't that bad.
Tomorrow's another day. And it was so hard to accept the positive affirmations. That's another thing they do in the hospital a lot. Affirmations, positive affirmations. I'm like blank right now, but I could probably list out like 30 of them for you. But if you don't have that positivity, I feel you're not going to be able to move forward. So do your best to surround yourself in that positivity. Maybe you can be a positive person for someone else. You can go up to them and say, hey, this is going to pass, and you're going to get through it. And maybe that's all you say to them that day. But I promise you, if you keep doing it, if you keep reading the affirmations I share on Facebook, share them with your friends, that positivity, without even knowing it, is going to seep in, and then it's going to bloom. And there's, again, there's all types of things for positive reinforcement. Hold on a second. But you need to get that positive reinforcement for yourself as well. I did not have a lot of positive reinforcement for myself. And as my positive reinforcement in myself grew, the tools that I had or were given or told about to help me get through my conditions got better. They were easier to use. I felt more confident in using them. One of the big ones, everyone tells you, or at least I hear a lot, is breathe. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
I did that a lot in the beginning.
And that's very difficult for me. And if I start doing that, it brings even more upsetness to me. But I'm getting better at it. It's not taking me as long to recover. It's working.
Well, and I also want to say that one of the things when we're supporting each other for mental health and wellness, one of the things that really worked for Amy and I and in the mental health team is that when I would say, okay, let's take a deep breath, and at first Amy was trying to be compliant, and I didn't know anxiety was rising within them. But then at some point Amy was like, that actually makes me more anxious. Can we not do the breathing thing? That wasn't an indictment against me. That was trust. Mm-hmm. That was Amy trusting me enough to tell me their truth so that I could say, oh, well, what de-escalates your anxiety rather than brings it up? So I can remind you to do that instead, because I don't want to increase your anxiety, so thank you for letting me know that. So if somebody says something to you and it's a kind of a course correction, take that as a sign of trust. As a way of them saying, I want you to support me, but
not in this way.
But not in this way, because it's not working. But to find out recently that the breathing that has been something that Amy's been working on, because in theory it's supposed to work, and little by little it is starting to help, it's kind of encouraging too. So don't think that everything that you said was wrong. It might actually be something that's like, okay, maybe I'll try it a little bit later when I'm all alone and I know I'm safe. I just think that that's an important aspect of creating community support and having that positive reinforcement. One of the things that you were talking about was the doing it enough so that it starts to, what I consider starts to stick. Mm-hmm. So Judy was helping me in my house, and there's some holes in my walls, and she said to me, well, first you have to put a thin layer on so that the next layer will stick. Because I wanted to put the whole, just put it on. She's like, it's not going to work like that. So you need to have something that it's going to stick to. And I think about positive reinforcement like that. You start layering it, little by little. You don't overwhelm someone going, I know that everything is going to be great, and you're going to be fine, and this wonderful thing is going to happen, and I see the future. Because that's like, okay, bulldozer. But if you say, you can get through today. You can get through this moment. And start to layer it little by little. I know this has helped for me. I have PTSD, and it's so much better than it used to be when I was younger. But it all started with that layering. And learning about how to patch the wall, I was like, that's what it is. Just get enough so the next layer will stick. So the next layer will stick. Boy, is that, number one, boring. And annoying.
Not fast enough.
It's not fast enough. But it's not going to be fast enough. And that's okay. Did you have something else?
I just wanted to share, with the dissociative identity disorder, you have what they call alters, or I prefer to refer them as parts. They're parts of myself. And they're actual physical manifestations of myself. But one tool, let me back up. You're going to be given or told different tools, all different tools. Some of them may work, some of them may not. But find out what works for you, and if it doesn't work for you, don't. You want me to write in a journal? That didn't work for me. But with my different parts, different tools worked for them. And if that tool worked for them, it made my life easier. It made my healing easier. And so, you know what? One tool worked for one part, may not work for another, but we find what worked for that part. And so it's a give and take. But, you know, if people start telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, find out what works for you.
And don't be surprised if on Tuesday writing in a journal helps you, and on Thursday it's really annoying to you and you'd rather draw or take a walk. Don't put yourself in a box of this is how I have to take care of myself based on my past. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here we are in a church environment and faith-filled environment. So why are we talking about this here today? How has your faith and being a member of Plymouth impacted your mental health and wellness, and also supported you with your mental health condition and as a LGBTQ+ person?
When I was going to school in Bryan College Station, I ended up having to live out of my car when I came out, and I had a couple of months left until I finished my degree. Someone told me about there's a church here that's very accepting and everything, and I went, and it was a UCC church. I can't tell you the name of it right now, but it did. It helped me, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, inside. They gave me support. They encouraged me. They helped me study. They I don't know.
They became a
They became my support system, my family at that time. And when I graduated, I had to leave them. So I came here. And I wasn't looking per se for spirituality or religion or however you want to do it. I was looking for companionship. I was looking for a group of people that accepted me for being LGBTQ. Nobody had any idea about anything else, but I wanted to be accepted for LGBTQ. When I moved back to Houston area several years ago, I don't know how I found Plymouth, but I just wanted to come because I just wanted the companionship to be with people who accepted people to be LGBTQ. Because trust me, if you're trying to find a mental health professional and you tell them, okay, I have DID, oh yeah, and also I'm LGBTQ, I think, I got a lot of pushback from that. And it didn't help, and it really upset me. So I found Plymouth here, and I came, and as I said, I just wanted the companionship. I just wanted to be accepted. And I saw how loving and open and supportive and happy and I don't know what else to say, exciting was here. So I continued to come. And eventually I did about, 10 years ago, tell the congregation that I had dissociative identity disorder. I was scared to do it, but I felt they needed to know. And the support I got was, oh my gosh, overwhelming. Very overwhelming. Like after the service, I think, after everybody talked to me, I just started crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're actually accepting me. So I found the acceptance. I found what I was looking for. And doing all of that, spirituality kind of creeped in there. And so I've stayed. And I have to tell you, this is the longest I've stayed in one area since I graduated college. And I don't have any plans of moving away, so I plan to stay here.
I do remember one conversation where Amy said, I don't really come to church for God. It's not about the God thing for me. It's about the community for me. And I think that was important, because here I am, a new pastor, and they wanted me to have an understanding of what was important. So, but there was still moments of, would you pray for me? And watching your spirituality grow and your connection with faith become your own in your own way, I think has been awfully beautiful.
Yes.
And I don't know if all y'all have, witnessed how all of us bloom to some degree in our faith. But it's really something. It's really something to see those connections be made, and I think it's really powerful. So I'm grateful.
Very much so.
I'm grateful.
Now, Plymouth is a huge part of my life. I mean, I'm on council, I'm on mental health team, I sing in the choir, I do the AV team, I help with the garage sale. I'm here. So, yes.
So why is ONA and WISE important to you at Plymouth, at other churches, and in the UCC in general?
Okay, so obviously I learned...
Might have to
I will. Okay, so ONA is opening and affirming. And that is a designation by the United Church of Christ that simply says, we will accept you no matter what. But honestly, don't take this offensively. Honestly, the main focus of that is we will accept you if you are LGBTQ, an ally, or an actual LGBTQ person.
Yep, that's true. That's the foundation of it. But then usually ONA statements become much more broad than that.
Correct.
In our state.
Right. So in June of 2019, thank you.
Yes.
The mental health team came up with another designation from the United Church of Christ of WISE, W-I-S-E, which stands for welcoming, inclusive, supportive, and engaging. Okay, yes, I finally got it. Okay. And it took me a long time. And that not only is a statement that we welcome you no matter what. It specifically focuses on mental conditions, disabilities, what have you. But in that WISE statement is also a plan of action. What we're going to do to make you feel comfortable. And we're not just going to say, we welcome you, but what can we do to help you, to support you, to make you feel comfortable? And that to me is so important. And see, we're going to a conference at the end of May, right? Okay, so we're going to a conference at the end of May, and Mac is giving a presentation on ONA, which of course I will attend. But I wish there was a workshop on WISE, because I feel it is just as important a designation as opening and affirming. Because people still have that stigma, mental illness, bad person. And that's the worst thing you can do to somebody. Worst thing you can do. Let's see. Did I say with you? Yep. Okay.
So when churches like ours have a WISE designation, one of the things that we're committed to is knowing resources for mental health and wellness, and being willing to listen to people without judgment, and to also learn how to not be afraid of our own mental health conditions when they arise, and to approach these issues as with the understanding that God is not in love with us in spite of our mental health and wellness. God is just in love with us, and we all go through things. And so we need to be in love with each other as we all go through things. And that is our commitment, to stand with each other, to sit with each other, to cry, and to rejoice with one another. And I think the WISE designation has helped to elevate that here at Plymouth, and I think it helps to elevate it when it's lived out in every congregation. So, Are y'all better now? Or do you still struggle with stuff?
I do. I had an episode on Friday, but I had people there to help me. I had Shelby Mack to help me. That's why I have her. And I open up her services free of charge to you on Sunday mornings if she'll come to you. So she's not only my service dog. Since COVID, she has become the church's service dog. So please feel free to, if she wants you, if she'll let you, please feel free to pet on her. I don't think she'll have any objections. But it's an involving journey. There's some healing, but I will be dealing with struggles for the rest of my life. The good thing is that the struggles are not as intense. They don't take as long to recover from. They don't leave me in bed for days and days and days. Just way more manageable. But I also still continue to learn things about myself. My therapist has pointed out to me several times that for the first time in my life, I'm having my own thoughts. I'm making my own decisions. I'm being Amy. Not all the other parts. There's still a lot of noise in there. But I'm getting to be an adult now. Let's see. My parts were created to protect me as a protection. And now that I am out of danger, I guess you could say, I don't need as much protection. So they all have to learn. They all have to learn another job. But they do. They protect me. A couple weeks ago, I was out at camp, and we were having a great time, and I was sailing, and we were cleaning up, and a part came out and said, "Don't overheat." And then the next thing I knew, I was overheated. They were protecting me. They were saying, "Get out of the sun, cool off, hydrate." They were still protecting me. If they had not done that, I probably would have ended up in the hospital with a couple of IVs of saline coming through me to give me water.
Because you were having so much fun, you didn't want to leave.
I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
But no, they still protect me. They're just learning to protect me in the present day.
So that leads us to what's the difference between how you understand yourself now versus how you understand yourself in the past, and how does this signal internal and external growth for you?
Well, in the past, I was very depressed, very sad, very anxious, very poor outlook on the day. I would open my eyes and say, "Oh, I don't want to do this today. It's not worth it. It's just more pain. It's just more hurt. It's just more, I just don't want to do it. It's too hard." And I've evolved to the point where I wake up like this morning and I said, "Great, what do we have to do today? Let's do this, let's do that." I look forward to things. I look forward to coming here. I look forward to going back to camp. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in the Girl Scout program, and they have a program for sailing, and it's called Mariners. And I grew up in that program. It was a safe place for me. It was an awesome place. The leadership skills, the self-awareness skills were amazing. And up until my early 20s, I also volunteered with them. I thought one of the big things is, give back. You got all this stuff, now you know it, now give it back to somebody else. But unfortunately, I had to stop doing it because I didn't have weekends off, and I couldn't give up 6 weeks of my summer to teach sailing. But recently, I have decided I need to give back. So I have started volunteering again, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. If you don't see me in church on the weekends between August and the end of September, and then April till the end of May, I'm out on Galveston Bay. But every day is exciting. Every day is new. There's good things. I'm testing my limits. I'm not afraid to test those limits. I have more abilities. I'm setting boundaries. I'm not cured, but I'm healthy. I'm healthy for me.
Would you say that you're a little less Eeyore and a little more poo?
Yes, a lot less Eeyore, definitely more poo. Maybe even a little Tigger some days.
And I have to say, sometimes, Christopher Robin.
Yes, sometimes.
Amy has become quite the leader and the mentor and advisor. So there's been definitely some Christopher Robin-ness that I have experienced, and I'm really grateful. So I want to thank you for sharing with us your journey just in life, but also your faith path, your journey here at Plymouth and at Brian's college station friends, right? Yeah. With Dan DeLeon is the pastor there. He's absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Pastor Dan.
That was Friends UCC. Yeah, that's the name of it. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing with us, for edifying us with your inspiration and your encouragement, for reminding us that we can get through this moment and the next, and eventually more and more, and we can build on our own mental health and wellness. Do you have any other advice that you would like to share before we close out?
Mental health is serious. Mental wellness is serious. The worst thing you can do is to keep it to yourself. Talk. Find someone.
I'm here for y'all.
If you need a therapist, don't be ashamed to find one. Like I said, they're online now. Nobody has to know. Sometimes, and I had many of these days, sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. Can I just get through this 1 minute? And that's okay. I still have those days. But I'm working through them. I'm not letting them fester inside and become a volcano. If you need help, like I said, don't be afraid to find it. It's there. Be there for each other as much as you can. Saying encouraging things or listening to one another is awesome. Sometimes I just start texting just to talk because there's just too much noise. I guess it's noise. I don't know. Conversations going on in my head. And we just talk about everyday things, and that helps me. So being alone is the worst thing you can do. Mental health breaks are absolutely necessary. My recommendation is at least one every day. Harder days, it may need 2. But absolutely. Read all the encouraging memes I find on Facebook and post to the Plymouth page. I get a lot of those. Surround yourself with positivity. As I said, that positivity is going to sneak in there like you don't know it. What else was I going to say? Nobody is immune. Nobody is immune. Everybody. One of my favorite singers just recently died from suicide. It's heartbreaking. I had plans to go see her in October. It's not immune to anybody.
But knowing that you are valued helps.
Yes. You are valuable. You are valuable to yourself. And you are valuable to people. I have a hard time listening to Max say things like, you're part of the leadership and you're a mentor. That's hard for me to hear. But I'm glad I'm doing it.
And we are too. So thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Hope I wasn't too long.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a moment to meditate with the choir singing to us. Please join your hearts in prayer with mine. Holy love, we hold within ourselves the essence and the truth of who we are. And we lift them up in your holy love and in your grace and in your mercy. We thank you for the gift of ourselves, our ups and our downs, the way that we get stuck and the way that we become more fluid and flowing. And we ask that you would help us to become stronger each and every day and more supple with your grace and your mercy that helps us to find the value of ourselves. We also ask that you would give us the wisdom to speak the words to each other. Simple things, like I see the value in you, or you did that really good today. And as we consider all of these ways of being community together, of being a resource for each other in these simple ways of friendship and caring, we also lift up in the Spirit these same values and ask that you would carry them to people in places outside of the scope of Plymouth. For folks who are downtrodden and who have been told over and over and over again that they are not valuable. Or for folks who are in the middle of a situation that we don't want to turn into a condition. We lift up all of these truths that we hold so dear and we wing them out spiritually in the direction that they need so that people will get some kind of expression of it by your love. So that they can seek the help that they need, so they can find the help that they need, or even just be willing to consider valuing themselves more than they do in the present moment. And we thank you that we can pray and that we can send out well beyond the walls that we live in. Help this be a place of ministry for people to find the value of themselves and the value of connection with one another. And because we do this work as a ministry with one another, let us lift up our voices in these words of shared prayer, saying, Holy love, we accept your invitation to walk with you and with each other. When we are feeble, help us reach out to your strong arm. When we are in trouble, help us call on your grace without guilt. Increase our faith when our destination seems distant and our hearts are heavy. Remind us that our doubts are evidence of thinking and feeling deeply. Draw us close as a family of faith. Where there is discord, help us mend. Give us ears to hear each other and hearts to love beyond our fears. We long to know your sacred presence more fully each day and share it with each other. We yield to Spirit. Show us how to live more honestly and to see the needs around us so we can make a difference. Our hearts are grateful and sing praises for the beauty, wonder, and mystery of love.
Each week we collect two offerings. One is for the church, which goes into our general fund for the running of the church and our ministry. The second is the loose offering, which is sent to a designated charity, which changes each week. If you brought your offering in person today, you're welcome to drop it in the offering box in the back. It is the glass church near the doors to the narthex. Our loose offering for today will go to Remind, which provides free and confidential support groups for individuals living with or family and friends affected by depression and bipolar disorders to help them understand these difficult yet treatable mental conditions. In addition, Remind works to educate the public about depression and bipolar disorders, confront social stigma, and advocate for the rights of people living with mental conditions. If you would like to give to our general fund, to the loose offering, or to both, you can use bill pay from your bank, send us a check, use the Plymouth app, or use PushPay according to the directions on your screen. As always, thank you for supporting Plymouth and the ministries of the Loose Offering. Please join me in our responsive offertory prayer. Some of us give out of our abundance. For all of these gifts, we seek your blessing. To be a resource of freedom for the oppressed.
By God.
Please join us as we sing, Lord, Prepare Me to be a Sanctuary, from the Sing Book, number 187.
But you can dance in the aisles if you want. And now, my friends, it's time to go from this moment to whatever it is that you have next. Let us be grateful for the gifts that we've been given this morning during this time of shared expressing together. Let us be grateful for all the aspects of who we are, heart, soul, body, in emotions. Let us be grateful for all of the elements that we get as a gift also to observe and to nourish us. Go forth from this place in the power of all of who you are and in the ways that you're valuable to yourself, to God, to each other, as you go forth in peace and as peacemakers.